The world loves the man who is always available, not because they value him, but because he is easy to use. Accessibility means consumption. Constant availability means being taken for granted, and giving your time, your loyalty, and your energy, without a price tag, turns you into a discount bin at a clearance sale. There's a brutal economic law that governs human relationships, and it cares nothing for your good heart. The law of supply and demand. Supply is high when you're always there, always replying, always helping, and demand for you hits zero, which means you become oxygen, essential perhaps, but free, and no one pays for air until they're choking. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this dark psychology centuries ago, when he warned that a prince who is too generous, too open, too familiar, is eventually despised, seen as weak, seen as common, and common things get discarded. This is the psychology of value and human manipulation that Machiavelli understood. Humans only value what they have to pay for, they only value what they fear losing, they only value what is expensive, and that truth is darker than what you've been taught. We're going to deconstruct the Machiavellian psychology of value and apply the laws of luxury economics to your personality, the paradox of value, and why water is free while diamonds cost a fortune, the velvet rope strategy, and the art of strategic friction, information as currency, and the law of concealment, emotional stoicism as a power move, the walking away principle and why absence increases honor, never splitting the difference on your standards, killing the bargain hunter identity, and the ultimate cost, which is facing the void alone. Phase 1. The paradox of value. Why water is free and diamonds are expensive. Adam Smith, the father of economics, grappled with a paradox in 1776 that explains your entire social life by asking why water, which is essential for life, is virtually free, and why diamonds, which are useless, are so incredibly expensive. Scarcity is the answer. Water is everywhere, falling from the sky and flowing in rivers, and because it's abundant, it's taken for granted. You wash your hands with it, you flush it down the toilet, you waste it. Diamonds are rare, they're hard to find, they require labor and suffering to extract, and because they're scarce, they're worshipped while people kill for them and starve themselves to buy them. 1776 brought Smith's The Wealth of Nations, the same year as the American Declaration of Independence, and in Book Wine, Chapter 4, titled Of the Origin and Use of Money, he wrote, "The word value has two different meanings and sometimes expresses the utility of some particular object, and sometimes the power of purchasing other goods which the possession of that object conveys. Nothing is more useful than water, but it will purchase scarce anything. A diamond, on the contrary, has scarce any value in use, but a very great quantity of other goods may frequently be had in exchange for it." This paradox went unsolved for almost 100 years until the marginal revolution between 1871 and 1874, when three economists, Carl Menger, William Stanley Jevons, and Leon Walras, independently figured it out through marginal utility theory. Value is determined by the marginal utility of the last unit consumed, not the total utility, which means water is everywhere, so the value of one more glass is almost nothing, while diamonds are rare, so the value of one more diamond is extremely high. Look at your life. Are you water or are you a diamond? The nice guy, the yes man, the reliable friend. He's water flowing through everyone's ecosystem. People need him to listen to their problems, to do the heavy lifting, to validate their ego. But because he flows freely, they flush him by canceling plans last minute because they know he won't get mad, underpaying him because they know he won't negotiate, and dumping their emotional garbage on him because they know he's an open container. He thinks he's being a good person, but in reality, he's flooding the market with his own presence by creating a surplus of himself. Becoming expensive means becoming a diamond, which means becoming useless to those who cannot afford you. This is a hard pivot. It requires killing the part of you that craves immediate validation, and you have to be willing to be called distant, to be called arrogant. Thorstein Veblen, the sociologist who coined conspicuous consumption in his 1899 book The Theory of the Leisure Class, noted that people gain status not by what they do, but by what they can afford to waste. Expensive people signal that they can afford to waste other people's approval because they don't need validation to survive. Start today by auditing your availability. How quickly do you text back? How often do you say yes to things you hate? How much time do you spend listening to people who never ask about you? Every instant reply is a coupon you're handing out. Every sure, no problem is a discount code. Create a drought and let them thirst. Withdrawing your supply forces them to realize your value, because when the water stops flowing, people don't shrug, they panic. They check the pipes, they call the company. They're suddenly willing to pay anything to get it back. Be the drought. Phase 2. The velvet rope, the art of friction. Walk past a high-end nightclub. Walk past a luxury boutique like Hermes, and what do you see? A line, a bouncer, a locked door, barriers. Now walk past a Walmart, where the doors slide open automatically, the lights are bright, and everyone is welcome. Which one deserves your respect, and which one do you dress up for? We value things that resist us through the psychological concept of effort justification. If we have to work for something, our brain rationalizes that it must be valuable, and if we get it easily, our brain assumes it's cheap. You've been living with automatic doors by letting anyone into your mental space and anyone into your schedule. You're a Walmart. Installing a velvet rope means introducing friction, which is the art of being just hard enough to reach that it filters out the low-value people, but enticing enough that the high-value people will jump the hurdle. Robert Cialdini teaches this as the scarcity principle in his book Influence. The perception of scarcity drives demand and makes people want what they can't easily have. Hermès International was founded in 1837 in Paris, and 1984 brought the Birkin bag, named after actress Jane Birkin. Jane Birkin sat next to Hermès CEO Jean-Louis Dumas on a flight from Paris to London. Her diary fell and contents scattered everywhere. She complained she couldn't find a good leather weekend bag, and Dumas sketched a bag design on an aeroplane sick bag right there, which is how the Birkin bag was born. As of 2024, Birkin bags retail from $9,000 to over $500,000, depending on materials. But here's the key part. You cannot simply buy a Birkin bag. You must be offered one by a sales associate, and waiting lists can be years long. March 2024 brought a lawsuit against Hermès in U.S. District Court in Northern California for alleged antitrust violations for tying Birkin purchases to buying other products first. 2016 brought a bag hunter study finding that Birkin bags had a 14.2% average annual return over 35 years, outperforming the S&P 500 at 8.7% and gold at 1.9%. Pre-owned Birkins often sell above retail price on the secondary market. Strategic friction created this value because the bag isn't just expensive in dollars, it's expensive in access. Applying this starts with the no default. Most people's default setting is yes, unless I have a reason not to. But your default setting must become no unless you give me a reason to. Someone asks for a favor, a meeting, a date, and the answer is silence, then it's a maybe. Then only if it aligns with your mission, it's a yes. This hesitation is not rudeness, it's calibration, signaling that your time is already accounted for. The qualification process comes next by never letting someone enter your inner circle without testing them. A new person wants to be your friend, but don't just accept them because they're standing there by watching them and testing their loyalty on small things. Do they gossip about others? Then they'll gossip about you, so keep the rope up. A client wants to work with you, but don't just take the money by making them apply, making them fill out a form, making them wait a week for an opening. You think you'll lose business, you think you'll lose friends. You will. You'll lose the cheap ones, you'll lose the parasites, but the high-value players, the ones who understand the game, they'll respect the rope by seeing the barrier and thinking there must be something valuable inside if he's protecting it this hard. Machiavelli advised that a prince should be slow to believe and to move. Be slow, let them wait in line, let them wonder if they're going to get in. The anxiety of will he accept me creates a dopamine spike when you finally do, but if you accept them immediately there's no spike, there's no addiction. You're not being mean, you're curating your existence. Phase 3. The tax of silence. Information as currency. Information is power, and like all currency, inflation kills it by making your words worth less the more you talk. The free man is an open book telling you his life story on the first date, explaining his strategies to his co-workers, venting his frustrations to his neighbors, broadcasting his every move on social media. He's inflating his own currency, flooding the market with data about himself. And because he tells everyone everything, he has no leverage, he has no mystery. Becoming expensive requires becoming a vault by taxing people for your information. Machiavelli's law of concealment appears in The Prince. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience who you really are. Keep the who you really are behind the paywall. Conversations should follow the 80-20 rule. where they speak 80% of the time and you speak 20%. Speaking means declaring, not explaining. I'm moving to a new city. Why? Where is it? Is it for work? It's time for a change. End of sentence. Justification is the language of the subordinate, while the boss gives orders and the employee gives explanations. Withholding details forces people to fill in the blanks by projecting their own fantasies onto you. Assuming you have a master plan, assuming you're deeper than you are, you become a puzzle they cannot solve, and the human mind is obsessed with unsolved puzzles. Charismatic people throughout history all had a quality of remote distance, where you felt like you knew them, but there was always a part of them that was inaccessible. That distance is the price tag telling the world. You can see the display model, but you cannot touch the inventory. Robert Greene outlined this in Law 16 of the 48 Laws of Power, published in 1998. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Too much circulation makes the price go down. The more you are seen and heard from, the more common you appear. And if you're already established in a group, temporary withdrawal from it will make you more talked about, even more admired. Learning when to leave creates value through scarcity. Chris Voss, the FBI's lead international kidnapping negotiator from the 1980s until 2008, teaches about tactical silence in his 2016 book, Never Split the Difference, by writing, "Silence is powerful. We told Oprah to use it. After you label a barrier or mirror a statement, let it sink in. Don't worry, the other party will fill the silence." Withholding information and creating strategic silence makes other people fill the void by revealing their position and exposing their needs. Information asymmetry is power, and the person who talks less knows more. Stop oversharing. Stop posting your emotional breakdowns. Stop telling people your next move before you've made it. Silence creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum, your value rises because people will start to lean in. They'll start to seek your opinion because you give it so rarely. The quiet man finally speaks and the room goes silent, but the loud man speaks and people check their phones. Be the voice that costs something to hear. Phase 4. The price of emotional stoicism. Now we go deeper past time, access and words to reach the most expensive thing you own, your emotional reaction. Low-value people are reactive, they're cheap. Push a button and they explode. Insult them and they cry. Praise them and they glow. They're vending machines where you put the coin of stimulus in and get the product of reaction out, which means they have no internal sovereignty. They're slaves to external events. Being expensive means being non-reactive by possessing what the Stoics called apatheia, not apathy but freedom from suffering, which is the ability to look at chaos and remain unmoved. Understanding the dark triad psychology, Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy helps you recognize manipulation tactics, while Stoic philosophy serves as your defense against emotional manipulation. Epictetus lived from 50 to 135 CE as a former slave who became a Stoic teacher, and in the Enchiridion, which means the handbook, he wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Marcus Aurelius was Roman emperor from 121 to 180 CE and wrote Meditations around 170 to 180 CE. Book 4.3 contains this. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Book 8.51 says, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seneca the Younger lived from 4 BCE to 65 CE as a Roman Stoic philosopher, and wrote in Letters from a Stoic, Letter 9, "A man who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." Emotional control is expensive because it costs enormous energy to control your biology. Someone disrespects you, and your lizard brain screams attack. Overriding that scream requires high-level executive function. It requires discipline. It requires a soul that has conquered itself. Not reacting to an insult subverts the power dynamic because the insulter wants a reaction. That's the payment they're looking for. Denying them the reaction denies them the transaction by leaving them holding the bag of their own toxicity. Picture a negotiation. One man is sweating, talking fast, desperate to close the deal, while the other man is leaning back, breathing slowly, reading a file. Who has the power, and who is the prize? The calm man is the expensive man. Machiavelli knew that a prince who loses his temper loses his authority when he wrote in chapter 17 of The Prince, "Men have less scruple in offending one who is beloved than one who is feared, For love is preserved by the link of obligation which, owing to the baseness of men, is broken at every opportunity for their advantage, but fear preserves you by a dread of punishment which never fails. Anger is a confession of weakness by admitting that someone else has the power to disturb your peace. Don't give them that power by treating your emotions like gold bars in a vault that don't get handed out to every beggar who knocks on the door. Someone tries to provoke you, so look at them with curiosity, not anger, like a scientist observing a rat in a maze. Interesting behavior. Then walk away. This level of detachment is terrifying to manipulative people because they rely on your emotional debt. They need you to owe them a reaction. Cancel the debt and become a ghost to their drama. Emotionally expensive people make others walk on eggshells around them, not because they're abusive, but because others don't know where they stand. They have to work to read you. They have to invest energy to understand you. And the more energy they invest, the more valuable you become to them. This is the sunk cost fallacy weaponized for your benefit, where someone has spent months trying to figure you out, trying to earn your respect, trying to get a glimpse of your real self, so they're not going to walk away because they've invested too much. You've become their most expensive asset. Phase 5. The absence of necessity. Walking away. The ultimate sign of a luxury good is that it doesn't need you to buy it. Ferrari doesn't run commercials begging you to drive their cars. They don't care if you buy one. Someone else will. And if not, the car sits in the showroom looking beautiful, retaining its value. The free man is needy, by needing the job, needing the girl, needing the invite to the party, and because he needs it, he has no negotiating power. Chris Voss teaches in Never Split the Difference that neediness is the death of a negotiation because the moment the other side smells that you must have the deal, the price goes down. Becoming expensive requires cultivating the power of walking away, by building a life where you do not need any specific person or opportunity to be whole. Machiavelli meant this when he said, "A prince should rely on his own arms, not the arms of others." Financial stability depending entirely on one boss makes you cheap, makes you a slave. Emotional stability depending entirely on one partner makes you cheap, makes you a dependent. Diversifying your power means building skills that are rare, building a network that is wide, building a mind that is self-sufficient. Roger Fisher and William Ury introduced the concept of BATNA in their 1981 book, Getting to Yes, Negotiating Agreement Without Giving In, which stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement, meaning your best alternative if the current negotiation fails. Stronger BATNA means more power to walk away. Fisher and Ury wrote, "The reason you negotiate is to produce something better than the results you can obtain without negotiating. Options mean you can afford to be expensive. No options mean you must compromise, and building alternatives increases your value. Knowing deep in your bones that you can walk away from any table and be fine makes you dangerous by changing how you negotiate and how you speak. You're not bluffing, you're simply stating the terms. This is my price, this is my standard, meet it or I walk. And that has to mean something. The free man stays in bad relationships because he's afraid to be alone, while the expensive man leaves because he knows his solitude is worth more than bad company. The free man accepts a low salary because he's afraid of unemployment, while the expensive man quits because he knows his skills are a Veblen good. Willingness to destroy the deal is what makes the deal possible, by signaling to the world, I am not desperate, I am selecting, stop needing them, and they start needing you, which is the dark irony of desire. We want the cat that ignores us, not the dog that jumps on us. Be the cat sitting on the high wall, watching the world go by, cleaning your paws. Let them come to you with the treats, and even then maybe you eat them, maybe you don't. That's the posture of value. Phase 6. The Machiavellian pivot. Absence increases honor. There's a rhythm to power that's not a steady hum, it's a pulse. The free man is a flat line, always there, consistent, boring, while the expensive man is a heartbeat, present, then gone, engaging, then withdrawing. Robert Greene's Law 16 from the 48 Laws of Power states, use absence to increase respect and honor. And this is the advanced application of the velvet rope. Establishing your value and hooking them requires withdrawal afterward by creating a vacuum. Human imagination is more powerful than reality, which is why this works. Someone is with you and they see your flaws. They see that you have a stain on your shirt. They hear you stutter, you become human. Absence turns you into an idea, and ideas are flawless. Withdrawing makes people begin to fill the silence with their own fantasies about you by wondering what you're doing, wondering who you're with, wondering why you don't need them right now. This curiosity transforms into admiration. He must be doing something important. He must be in high demand. You're essentially short-selling your own presence, where reducing the supply spikes the price. But this requires nerves of steel, because withdrawing makes your insecurity scream, "What if they forget me, and what if they find someone else?" Let them try, because if they find someone else, you were never the diamond, you were just a placeholder. Better to know now. Usually they won't, and usually they'll chase. Think of the artist who disappears for a year to work on an album with no tweets, no interviews, silence, and when the album drops, the world stops. Think of the employee who never takes overtime, never joins the office gossip, and leaves exactly at 5:00 p.m. So when he speaks in a meeting, the boss listens. He's not part of the noise, which is why it works. Using this strategically means, if you've been too available in a relationship, pull back, not with anger, never with anger, but with purpose. Get busy, get obsessed with a project. Let the text sit for a few hours. Let the weekend be yours. You're not playing games. You're recalibrating the exchange rate by reminding them that your presence is a privilege, not a right. A star that's always in the sky is ignored, while a comet that appears once every 100 years is an event. Be the comet. Phase 7. Never split the difference. The intolerance of mediocrity. The free man compromises by splitting the difference. He wants $100. The boss offers $50. He takes $75 and thinks he won. He wants loyalty. His partner offers mostly faithful. He accepts it and thinks it's love. He compromises on his standards because he's afraid of losing the deal. Being expensive means having a zero-tolerance policy for mediocrity, and this is where you become difficult. This is where you earn respect. Chris Voss titled his book Never Split the Difference for a reason, by teaching that you don't compromise to the middle, because compromises often satisfy no one and create resentment. Voss wrote, "We don't compromise because it's right. We compromise because it is easy and because it saves face. We compromise in order to say that at least we got half a loaf. But this splitting the difference often leads to bad deals. Lowering your price, lowering your standards, meeting someone halfway devalues what you offer, because the person who compromises looks weak, and the person who holds their position looks strong." Voss teaches about the anchoring effect in negotiation, based on work by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky on cognitive biases. Kahneman won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2002 for prospect theory, and studies show the anchoring effect is powerful even when the anchor is obviously arbitrary. The first number mentioned in a negotiation becomes the anchor around which all other numbers revolve. Setting a high anchor, being expensive, shifts the entire negotiation range upward. Starting high and refusing to budge makes the other party adjust their expectations upward, but starting low or immediately compromising anchors yourself as cheap. Refusing to split the difference on your core values signals that you're not desperate. I do not work on weekends. I do not tolerate disrespect. I do not associate with liars. These are not requests. These are laws. Drawing a hard line makes people test it. They'll push against it. They're checking to see if you're real. Holding the line makes them bow, but folding makes them own you. The expensive man is willing to lose the deal rather than lower the standard, and the paradox is because he's willing to lose the deal, he usually gets exactly what he wants. Derek Sivers, an entrepreneur and TED speaker, published a blog post in August 2009 titled "No More Yes. It's either hell yeah or no," and his philosophy is simple. If something isn't a hell yeah, it should be a no. Sivers wrote, "If you're not saying hell yeah about something, say no. When you say no to most things, you leave room in your life to really throw yourself completely into that rare thing that makes you say hell yeah." Being selective, being expensive, means most things are no, which creates space for the few hell yeah opportunities, but requires comfort with turning down the majority of options. This applies to how you treat yourself, because you cannot be expensive to others if you're cheap with yourself. Eating trash, sleeping poorly, and consuming mindless content signals to your own subconscious that you're a low-value asset. Upgrade your internal operating system by reading difficult books, lifting heavy weights, wearing clothes that fit, speaking with precision. Treat yourself like a high-performance machine that requires premium fuel. Treating yourself with reverence makes the world follow your lead because you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Carry yourself with the weight of someone who matters, not arrogance, because arrogance is loud while gravity is silent. Phase 8. The luxury identity. Killing the bargain hunter. We all have a bargain hunter living inside us, saying, take the safe path, don't rock the boat, be grateful for the scraps. This voice is a survival mechanism from our ancestors, wanting you to survive without caring if you thrive. Becoming expensive requires killing the bargain hunter by adopting the luxury identity. This means shifting your mindset from, can I get this, to is this worthy of me? The free man walks into a room and hopes people like him, while the expensive man walks into a room and assesses if he likes them. The dynamic is flipped because you are the selector. This isn't about thinking you're better than everyone, it's about knowing what fits you. A puzzle piece isn't better than the others, it just has a specific shape, and if it doesn't fit, you don't force it. Businesses that train customers to wait for discounts devalue their brand permanently, and the best case study is J.C. Penney's fair and square pricing disaster in 2012. 2012 brought CEO Ron Johnson eliminating sales and coupons and introducing everyday low pricing to stop training customers to wait for discounts. Sales plummeted 25% in the first year from 2012 to 2013. Johnson was fired in April 2013 after only 17 months, and the company returned to promotional pricing immediately. Once you train customers that you're cheap, changing is extremely difficult. May 2020 brought J.C. Penney filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and December 2020 brought emergence under new ownership. Luxury brands maintain premium pricing and never discount on the opposite end. A 1989 study by Rao and Monroe in the Journal of Marketing Research titled The Effect of Price on Brand Perception found a strong correlation between price and perceived quality, where higher price equals assumption of higher quality, even when products are identical. Michael Spence developed signaling theory in 1973 and won the Nobel Prize in 2001 by showing that high price signals high quality when quality is difficult to assess before purchase. Price signals exclusivity and quality. 2024 prices show a Louis Vuitton Speedy 25 bag at $1,760, with canvas material cost likely under $100, an Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max with 1 terabyte of storage at $1,599, with estimated production cost around $500 to $550, and a Rolex Submariner, retailing from $9,100 to $14,300, with estimated production cost between $3,000 and $5,000. Thorstein Veblen coined conspicuous consumption in his 1899 book The Theory of the Leisure Class, and the Veblen effect is when demand increases as price increases. Luxury cars, designer handbags, high-end watches all work this way, where price itself signals status and quality. Stopping trying to fit into cheap slots makes you find the expensive ones, which requires selective honesty. The free man lies to keep the peace by saying it's fine when it's not, but the expensive man uses the truth to cut through the noise. I don't like this idea. This isn't working for me. I expect better. This bluntness is rare, it's shocking, it's valuable, because in a world of fake politeness, the man who speaks the truth is a rare commodity. People will trust you more because you're willing to offend them by showing you're not manipulating them with flattery. You become the trusted advisor, and the advisor is always the highest paid man in the room. Phase 9. The ultimate cost, facing the void. Here's the final price you must pay. Being expensive requires being willing to be misunderstood, and being willing to walk alone. The herd is free, the sheep are free, they move together, they're safe, but the tiger is solitary, the tiger is expensive. Starting to apply these laws by putting up the velvet rope, taxing your silence, refusing to compromise makes people react. Some will call you changed, some will call you selfish, some will leave. Let them, because this is the sifting process. You're sifting sand to find gold, and letting a lot of sand fall through your fingers is required. The free man tries to hold on to the sand while terrified of the empty hand, but the expensive man knows that the empty hand is simply ready to hold the gold. Being comfortable with the void, the space between who you were and who you're becoming, is required. That space is quiet, it's lonely, but it's in that silence that you build your empire. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, Book 10.8, "In the morning when you are sluggish about getting up, let this thought be present, I am rising to a man's work." Epictetus wrote, Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Seneca wrote, in On the Shortness of Life, "You live as if you were destined to live forever. No thought of your frailty ever enters your head, of how much time has already gone by. You take no heed. You squander time as if you drew from a full and abundant supply, though all the while that day which you bestow on some person or thing is perhaps your last. Your time is finite." Economics calls this opportunity cost, coined by Austrian economist Friedrich von Wieser in 1914, meaning every choice has a cost, which is what you give up by choosing one thing over another. 168 hours per week is what you have, and saying yes to low-value opportunities means saying no to high-value ones. 2017 brought a meta-analysis published by Holt Lundstad in American Psychologist, reviewing 148 studies with over 300,000 participants. Social isolation increases mortality risk by 29%, loneliness increases mortality risk by 26%, and being alone has real costs. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, published from 1883 to 1885, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. High standards, being expensive, refusing to compromise, makes most people not understand. Most people will think you're arrogant, difficult, unreasonable, and you will spend time alone. You will turn down opportunities that others would jump at. You will watch people choose the easy path while you walk the hard one." Machiavelli himself experienced this when he wrote The Prince in 1513, while in exile, poor and desperate for employment. He dedicated the book to Lorenzo de' Medici, hoping to get a job, but never got the position, and died in relative poverty on June 21, 1527, which means he wrote about power, while having none himself. You're building a reputation, and a reputation is like a fortress taking time to build, stone by stone, no by no, silence by silence, but once it's built, it stands for a lifetime. People will hear about you before they meet you by knowing, he's not easy, he's not cheap, but he's worth it. That's the goal, not to be liked by everyone, but to be valued by the few who matter, to be the prize that must be won, to be the investment that pays dividends, to be expensive. You have a choice to make today, between going back to being free, where it's easy, the doors are open. You can be the nice guy, you can be the yes man, you can give your pieces away until there's nothing left of you, and you'll be popular, you'll be used, and you'll be forgotten. Or you can close the store by changing the price tag, starting to say no, starting to withdraw your attention, starting to demand excellence. These Machiavellian psychology principles and dark psychology tactics will be hard, it will be lonely at first, but you will never be cheap again. You'll look in the mirror and see a man of value, a man of substance, a man who commands his environment, instead of begging for scraps. Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations in 1776 and identified the paradox that water is essential but cheap, while diamonds are useless but expensive. De Beers proved you can engineer scarcity from 1888 through the 1990s by controlling 90% of diamond production at their peak. Hermes proved you can make people wait years for a bag that costs $9,000 to $500,000. Chris Voss proved walking away is the ultimate negotiation tactic through his FBI hostage work. The Stoics proved emotional control is power through Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca. Machiavelli proved absence increases respect in The Prince, written in 1513. The principle is simple: don't be free, be expensive. The world is a marketplace where you stop giving out samples and make them pay the full price because you are the only thing you have, and once you're spent, you cannot be bought back. Be rare, be difficult, be expensive,